Hello and welcome to the live stream. I haven't done this in 2 years, I think. So let's see if I still remember all the settings. But it should work. So here we are, and what I plan to do today is an illustration for the Timemongers project, which is being developed in the frame of the Helen M. Salzberg 2023 residency at the Jaffe Center for Book Arts. This is a continuation of the Comic Art Europe residency, but in a different context. So what this means is I have the time and the resources to work on my own project. And the first step in this project is the creation of a picture book based on the fairy tale The Seven-Headed Dragon, collected by Petre Ispirescu sometime in the 19th century. And the reason I am live streaming and recording this is that I would like to have some sort of an archive of the development of this project. So it's definitely done for fun. Hello, Miru. And it's sort of a record of my thought process and my technical process. If you learn anything, that's good. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But if not, this is mostly done for fun. Now, my method is I assemble everything in design, and then I link it to Photoshop files, which means they update while I'm working on them. It's gonna be quite a small picture book, 5 illustrations. The plan, I'm not yet sure how I'm going to implement it, is to have them reso printed. Not sure where, not sure how, but it should be 3 colors, and the black should be the overlap between red and blue. It's a story I'm quite fond of. The story of the prince who slays a dragon and then has to go and find fire. It's a mix between a classical fairy tale and the legend of Prometheus. Anyway, here he is crossing the magical forest and tying dusk, midnight, and dawn to trees so that he can stop time and get back in time with the fire. Here he is finding the giant's cave. This is, as a story, it's very reminiscent of Ulysses, because he has to steal the fire from the giants, and then he gets back and the day is saved. I do have a plan of combining text and image, but for now the text is just a mock-up, so I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen with it. So the text is hidden. So yeah, I have 4 of the illustrations done. I don't have the cover yet. And I don't have the first illustration, and the plan would be that I work on the first illustration today. This was the initial sketch. Obviously, it has an edge. It's supposed to look something like this. These are the color flats, because I work with color flats and selections, And while looking at it, I decided I would probably like the characters to be a bit bigger. So here we are. This is gonna be the final illustration, and these are my 3 color layers. I'm not going to use a lot of yellow, but I plan to use the blue and the red. I have everything on layers. I don't need this group anymore. And let's see how this goes. I work with layer masks. Might not be the most efficient way, but is the way I'm used to. And I'm working with one of the manga brushes from Kyle T. Webster, and play along with the flow and the brush dimension. The goal being to have as much fun as possible. It's not going to be the most efficient color method, and sometimes I improvise along the way. What I like in using layer masks is that I can go back and, if I make any mistakes, change and correct them. So that's that. Ideally, when I use color masks, I'm already on the finished shapes, because it's a bit of a headache to go back and redraw the flats. So that's that. Do I have to do this? Do I have to fill the background with the texture? No, not really. It just makes me happy. I'm also happy I found the crosshatch brush, which looks like this and has a bit of texture and is reminiscent of what I used to do by hand exactly 10 years ago while working on Prozlečil vojnik Šimerle de Aur. That was also great fun, and I'm never doing that again because I don't think my wrist can take it anymore. Got a repetitive strain injury from, not only from that, from a combination of unwise choices. But anyway, here we are. Okay, I've got the blue, and if it juxtaposes with the red, this is what you get. It's a bit of a challenge trying to work like this, but I think it's great fun, and that's what I'm doing. Okay. I'm just doing the shadows and the ground. Normally I should block the white shapes out first, but if I erase the texture to get white, that gives me a bit of texture on the characters. And I'm gonna need more blue to get the black. I work with selections from flats, which are hidden, but this is the selection, which means I can change between layer masks and just add more texture where needed. It's a technique I learned from coloring comics, but I've applied it successfully to illustration. I'm talking about flats and selections, not necessarily about the two-color combination. I've been told that I'm doing two colors because I want to do it as a Rizzo print, or as screen printing, depending on whatever studio I can find near me. And I've been told that my choice of texture might not be the wisest for Rezo. We'll find out, I guess, because Rezo sort of adds a bit of texture when you work. And I think I've printed in Rezo once, and I have hazy memories from that. During the Visual Playground workshops 2017, very long time ago. Okay, and the sky should be white. Sort of like the shape reveal when I'm erasing texture. So I don't really see what I'm doing, and then it all becomes clear. Okay, and inside of the cave should be red, which means erasing the blue and adding in the red. And I would like some gradient. We'll see how that goes. Okay, maybe it's a good time to put in the characters and see what we're dealing with. The characters, which are the 12 princes. It's a very interesting story because it's one of the, I was going to say one of the few stories, but I think it's the only story I know where the princes are not in a direct competition, but they decide to work together pretty early on and kill the dragon together. So that's a nice touch. And you get the feeling you sort of, they aren't really princes, but more likely warriors that the king pays to get rid of the dragon, and the goal is to get rid of the dragon, not necessarily to win the princess and half the kingdom. Anyway, what they're doing in this illustration is taking an oath. Because the deal is they set up camp somewhere near the town and they stay guard because occasionally the dragon comes out and eats people. And when they go to sleep, one of them stays guard, and he's not supposed to let the fire go out because that means he fell asleep as well. And they decide that's a crime punishable by death because it means you're not doing your job. And they all swear to keep this agreement. So when the main character kills the dragon and the dragon's fire extinguishes the flames, he's like in real trouble. Okay, this is where the princes are. I'm gonna need the ground to be darker. Okay. I've got the flats on separate layers, but I need them on one layer as well. That way it would be easier to select exactly what I need. Okay. I We would need to decide whether this happens at night or not. And the answer will be maybe. I don't know. Let's say it's sometime in the evening so that the sky can be white, but they still have already started the fire. What's happening here? What's happening there is that I missed a shadow. Okay. Why don't... Oh yeah, okay. The mysteries of selection. Here we go, the rest of the shadows. I'm not quite happy with the texture here. But let's get all the elements on the page and we'll decide later what's what. Which means I need the trees. They're supposed to be near a forest. And trees. Okay. What I like about this brush is that you can vary the intensity. I like trying different brushes for different projects, but the truth is, with commercial projects, there really isn't a lot of time to do this. So, whenever an art project comes along, I'm really happy. Oh, I forgot about the bones. Okay, we'll get back to that. Let's get closer and see what's really happening. I could probably use the brush in a smaller size, but again, I'm not sure how well that would print. There's a lot of unknown elements with trying new techniques I've never tried before. So I guess everything is going to be a bit of a surprise. And the whole reason I'm doing the picture book was a decision I took rather late in the game, because the original plan was at this stage of the project to just do an object book, like a retelling of the original story I had in the tarot deck and in the concert. But every time I speak with someone about the project, I inevitably start with this project was inspired by 3 fairy tales. And I figured if I ever do an exhibition, and the goal is to do one at least in Bucharest in November. So yeah, the plan would be to have the 3 fairy tales, the 3 original fairy tales in the exhibition, so that when I say this was inspired by that and that, I can actually show what it was inspired by. So let's do a reveal. These are the bones. Oh, hello! Long time no see. Hello, graphite. but I remember who you are. Not sure if I'm allowed to say real names when people have usernames. That's a funny thing on the internet, because there's people I only remember by their username, and I'm always surprised to see their real names. But you would know a lot about this story, because I think it's a story from prehistoric times, because it has a band of brothers working together to kill a dragon, and that sounds like a Frazia. And they're called princes, but I kind of feel they are vitege, not actual princes. So I'm illustrating the Seven-Headed Dragon by Petre Spirescu, in which the dragon gets very little screen time. This is not the dragon's story. Where do I have the fire? Yes. So the fire should be yellow and red, which means I need to erase the blue and get the yellow in. And I'll show you in a minute how this color thing works. You might have the layers set up wrong, because I think normally when you print, I think you start with the lighter color, that would be yellow, and then, so you print the yellow first, then I guess you print the red, and then you print the blue, and the blue actually looks like this. And the red looks like this, and this is the yellow. And with their powers combined, I mean, with red, blue, and yellow, you should be able to get almost everything, although this is the wrong kind of red, because I think magenta would work better. But anyway, I sort of checked what are the usual colors you find in Riso printing and took the swatches from there. Would have been better if I had spoken with the Riso printing place first and then chose the colors, but hey, nobody's perfect. And I really wanted to do the picture book, which is a self-indulgent project, but I'm having a lot of fun, so here we go. Middle of the fire should be white. But probably not white, because then that's weird. Up close, the texture looks fine. I mean, I like it. I'm not sure if it's fine for Riso. Yay. Okay. Now on the cave, I had a bit of an edge. And the cave is inspired by Orthodox icons. It's a very stylized view of what the mountain looks like. Okay, should be something like this. And I need the actual mountain to be darker. I have a feeling I'm going to be disappointed by my own accent when I listen back to this, but it's the only accent I have. And I decided to live stream in English on account of, since this is in the frame of an American residency, maybe they would be interested in the process as well. So let's do it in an international language. Okay, I would need I need the texture to be seamless between the cave and the hill. And I do know I don't have music. I can't draw, talk, and have music at the same time. It's physically impossible. Sorry about that. How does this look? So, should this be darker or lighter than the mountains around it? I suppose the logical answer would be where does the light come from? But we're going to ignore logic and go for theatrical composition. And we'll figure along the way if I'm doing it right or doing it wrong. This looked better. Not sure why. Also not sure the cave is the best choice I could have made. Let's see how it looks if I do this with blue. It's basically a game of trial and error. And trying to find out what looks better. Yeah. I like this better. Okay, let's save. This is the fire. Well, obviously I need to work a bit more on the trees and on the cave, but that's for a later time. Let's see what's going on with the princes. And for that, let's make sure the background is more or less in good shape. Sometimes it's easier to work on the texture if I'm working on just one layer of color. Don't get distracted so easily. And I do hope the settings are fine because I haven't touched them in 2 years, so really hope the microphone levels are good. But this is a demo run, so we'll see. Testing, yeah. In OBS the levels seem fine, so let's hope they're fine. Okay, is the texture good enough? Still too light over here, but let's fix that later. Okay, swords, faces and shadows. Okay, let's see what happens if I do the shadows first. Is it night? Is it day? Nobody knows. Certainly I don't. And I need a smaller brush here, but not too small. I'll just do a generic texture on top, and then I can refine it later. I think I'll sort this out later is like a mantra at this point. Just do it and hope it turns out well. I mean, when I started out on the first illustration, I did some tests, and the plan was to draw the clothes as well, or at least some lines suggesting there are clothes, but it sort of felt like I was spending too much time on the whole design thing. And it's not like the final booklets are gonna be really big. They're gonna be, I think, a B3 format. So you're really not gonna get all the details. Anyway, here we go. Swords. Okay. The question is, how much overlap should there be between the swords and the fire? That's a good question, and we'll see. But because the swords are black, it means they're a combination of red and blue. I'll get them over the fire first and then delete some of them, we'll see. Not sure why I drew 12 princes instead of, I don't know, 7. But here we are. Okay. These would be the swords. Do I like them better red? Or are they too joyful if they're red? I don't think they're gonna hold them in the fire until they're red, but we've already established that logic is not the guiding force between this illustration. Not between for this illustration. I don't even have to check the clock. Because I've done tests, and in 1 hour my English gets really, really bad and I start mixing up words. So when I don't understand what I'm saying, it means the time is up. Let's see if we do them neither black nor red, but a combination. And the irony of the fact that I'm doing traditional Romanian fairy tales, or supposedly Romanian fairy tales, using 3 colors, which are red, blue, and yellow. The irony of this is not lost on me, but I'm hoping to save it with the overlap, meaning with black and orange, so it doesn't look like the national flag. I do like the red bit on the swords. Might change my mind later on it, not sure. Anyway. Okay, is this a good time to add eyes, or should I add some black in the shadow first? I can't remember what I'm selecting anymore. Let's see. If I add just a little bit of red, it's gonna go towards gray a bit. Not sure if I want this. Might be too much contrast. Maybe. Welcome to my live stream, where you get to see me thinking out loud. And it's fun because I don't know what I'm about to say. Yeah, this is the thing about drawing. It's not actually an entertaining art form. I mean, the process. I guess the end result is entertaining. I hope the end result is entertaining. But definitely not the process. Okay, let's get the eyes selected. Cool. Yeah, I didn't notice the color for the Romanian flag until I had them all in a row, and then I went right. But I mean, it serves us right for having the primary colors as our flag. It's not, I mean, those are the primary colors. It's just hilarious, yeah. Not great, not terrible. I don't like the texture on the characters at all. I think it makes them very, very flat. Okay, first thing first, let's add noses and see how that goes. If I would have done the flats properly, the noses would have been all the same color for easy selection. But I didn't, and now they have the same color as the shadows. The noses should be red, I suppose. No, because if I do them red, they look like snowmen. Blue. Okay, what can I do with the texture on the characters? The goal being to add some volume. Let's try it out on the main character. Normally, should get strong shadows on the characters if they're close to the flame. The same, similar to what I did here, I suppose. Let's see how that would play out here. No, the flats are done in Photoshop. I occasionally do flats in Illustrator, only in the last year I've sort of stopped doing that, and I do the flats straight in Photoshop with the pencil brush. You can see it's a pencil brush if you come really close, because the line is sort of jagged. I'm not exactly sure when I do one and the other. I suppose Illustrator gives you more refined lines and a lot more control on the shapes, whereas Photoshop gives you speed. So if you don't really have lines going from one end to the other of the canvas, then Illustrator seemed good enough. Photoshop seemed good enough. I mean, what I see in Photoshop is that I get a more hand-drawn feel on the flats. But there have been projects where I've done this in Illustrator. Okay, my problem with serious shadows is that I have the blue background. And I'm losing the characters in the background. This is more complicated than I anticipated. I don't like it when it's more complicated. We like speed and texture. Yes, we do. We like them very much. Okay. Not so happy with the shadows. You can't read the character properly. I'm voting against the black shadow on them, which means I have to put more white. Does it make sense? No. It's not about sense, it's about composition. I'm going to pretend this is not a flaw in design. This is what I wanted all along, yes. Still get a bit more shadow here. I officially have no idea what I'm doing. Play around with textures and hope for the best, I suppose. But he does look slightly better than the rest, so... Oh, okay. If I zoom out, I can see that the brush is giving me weird diagonal lines. I'm not happy with the weird diagonal lines. They're not quite visible, but the more I draw, the more you can see they're there. And this, I think this comes from the brush itself, and not much I can do about it except flip horizontal, redo the selection, and hope they go the other way now and sort of balance out. I also get to see what this looks like flipped. I'm so unhappy with the characters. I mean, not with the characters per se, but with the shadows on the characters. I need to find a better solution for that. Could I possibly do something like this and then do a darker background? Let's see how that would play out. it would be a question of controlling the red. Let's, no, wrong layer. Yeah, it's quite satisfying to draw in this technique. And I like it when you get restrictions from the technique. Because, I mean, it's a personal project. I can do whatever I want, as long as I'm happy with the results. But occasionally, if I can do whatever I want, I sort of freeze, because there's so many possibilities. And finding a restrictive technique actually allows me to be more creative. Okay, am I happy with this kind of shadow on the character? Yes, I am. I mean, I like it better than the other solution, so here we go, here we are. It just means I need to control the color of the background a bit, but that should be doable. And I sort of need to control the consistency of the texture, but I can do that anytime. As long as I have the shadow approximately where I want them. And I do need to put a shadow on his head as well. Something like this. Big character design. I did some pointy hair. He's the main character. And you can tell he's the main character, right? Okay. So about 13 minutes left of the live stream, but you can really see where this is going. And I'm quite happy with the direction. I've learned that if I take breaks, maybe not after an hour, but after 2 hours, then that saves me an enormous amount of time, because after a while I tend to doubt myself and take really bad decisions. I had one of these illustrations I was working on late at night. I didn't have to, I wanted to. And when I stopped, I was thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to redo all the characters. Something's wrong. In the morning, I couldn't remember what was wrong. It looked fine. So maybe that's a good lesson. Maybe you just need some distance. Okay, what's yours? So, more or less. I really should be putting the shadow on the heads as well at the same time. Yeah, I'm reasonably happy with this. Okay, let's flip it back. Okay. And let's sort in the 10 remaining minutes the background, because then it's going to be a lot easier to do the characters. As I said, work in progress. Okay, let's check the texture properly. This way I can put blue shadows on the characters and they'll still be visible. What am I doing here? Okay. I also sort of decided these are gonna be quick illustrations, meaning I'm not going to doubt myself a lot. I have about the whole project has theoretically to be done by the end of the year. I could spread out a bit in 2024. I don't think that's going to be a crime, but I would like to get as much as possible ready before the end of the year, and actually before November, because that's when the Bucharest exhibition is. So if I could get the picture books ready by then, that would be perfect. Which means 15 illustrations plus 3 covers. Which is definitely doable. I just don't really have a lot of time to second guess myself. Okay, what does the blue look like? I don't hate it. Still, the texture should be better here, so that, yeah, something like this. There's room for imperfections, but I'm occasionally having a hard time deciding what the right balance is between like imperfect lines and imperfect textures and proper errors. Okay, so I got 2 characters done. Texture is a bit patchy here. Why? Okay. This should give me enough room to play with the shadows on the characters. Okay, let's see. Yeah, because that way, even if I make them blue, you can still see them against the background. probably could use a smaller brush. Yeah, so now the question is patchy texture good and intentional, or is it a mistake? I'm still trying to get some volume with the shadows. And a bit of drama. Okay. I will have to put some indication to where the clothes are, because they look a lot like Goppo's little man. It's not something I want. They don't even look naked, they look half-formed. Not happy with this. I just came to say I follow you on Insta and I love your work. Hey, thank you. That's very sweet. Yeah, I'm sort of thinking of making the live streams regular, but I'm sort of afraid to commit to a schedule. I'll try. Okay. Shadow on head. And now I worry it feels different from the other illustration. Let's see if it does. Doesn't feel that different, does it? Spiky main character, spiky main character. Definitely feels different than the Giant's Cave. Well, let's hope the texture will be enough to make it coherent. Ah, you know me from Pixel Lab. Yeah, this is a good time to mention. I recorded a comics course for Pixel Lab. I'm not exactly sure when it'll come out, but I think it's sometime either late summer or early autumn, so I'm really curious how that's gonna go, because it was the first time I was trying to sort of synthesize and present everything I know about making comics in a coherent form that maybe other people would find useful. Because I've been giving advice here and there, but it's different. I mean, giving specific advice is one thing, and saying, okay, this is my process, this is how I do a whole page from script to storyboard to penciling, inking, coloring, and adding the text bubble. That was quite a journey. I was going to do something. What was I going to do? Besides angsting that the illustrations aren't coherent. Check the yellow looks fine. Oh, should I have yellow on the characters? Let's decide no. There's a gap here which should be filled and is not. Okay. Let's see. Does this make sense? Do I go through this with every illustration? I'd love to say no, but actually yes. I don't usually do it out loud, but there is a, what am I doing here? What's the best solution? Part in all the projects, even the commercial ones. And to set the record straight, I really like commercial projects. I mean, the difference between commercial and personal projects is with personal projects, if I make a mistake, it's my mistake. And I have to actively search for second opinions. With commercial projects, like the goal is very clear and there are other people willing to sort of give their opinions. You can add copyright-free music in the background. I've tried. I have a concentration problem. And if I hear music, I find it very hard to talk. Because I'm already sort of drawing and talking at the same time. And I'm not always talking about what I'm drawing. But I mean, the thing is I never really looked for a music I like. So maybe if I find something I really like, it won't be so difficult. I used to have classic music and it was impossible to concentrate. But I did check what the deal was with the music. And yeah, I could probably do it. I'll try to do it again because people keep suggesting and I think maybe that's a good thing to do. And maybe then I can shut up for longer than 30 seconds. Ah, there's a way so that you can hear the music and I can't. I'm gonna guess because if I have my headphones and my headphones only pick up the microphone while the streaming picks up the desktop, I'll look into it. That sounds like a good idea. Anyway, this is slowly, very slowly, because I'm getting in the flow now and don't want to stop. But I should, before I make mistakes I regret. Oh, this is slowly coming to an end. Why don't I have the selection? What's going on here? There you go. Yeah, I think this is going to work for the characters. Let's go back to the cave for a while and let's end it there. Just trying to make these two lighter than the rest. Maybe not patchy. Let's see if I can do that. Question. No. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. Am I drawing on the wrong layer? So dark up and lighter down. Yeah, this works better. Let's pretend I'm happy with this for now, though I'm not. Okay. For 1 hour on one illustration, I think this is quite decent. Yes, well, I'm gonna put the shadows on the characters and then I'm going to end it. The thing is, if you start drawing, it's very hard to stop, and then you regret not stopping in time. But there's only 2 characters, because the floating hands don't count. So that would be a nice thing to have done. And then I should link it in InDesign, and eventually I should do a printing test. I did write emails this morning to 2 Reso printing studios, asking for a quote, but also asking if my textures were okay. So we'll see what they say. Don't get me wrong, this would be great to do in metal as well. I think it would look really nice in mezzotint, for example. I'm sure it would look really nice. But that might be more work than I'm willing to put into this. I occasionally get like the good memories from uni and forget all the bad stuff, and how hard engraving actually is and how disappointing it is. So I promised myself I'm not going to do this in an overly complicated manner. And then I immediately decided to do 3 extra picture books, so that went well. And I should probably announce the live stream sooner. Okay. Let's check what this looks like. I will need to relink it in InDesign. For those of you who came later to the live stream, this is part of a picture book on the story of the 7-headed dragon by Petre Spirescu, which I am doing in the frame of the Helen M Salzberg residency at Jaffe Center for Book Arts. And I am assembling all the illustration in a, I call it a picture book. It's a zine, in fact. It's only 16 pages, but it goes something like this. And the text looks something like this, but the text not being in its final form, it's gonna be invisible for now. This is today's illustration. Looking like this. It's a big contrast between the two. One's very minimalist and the other one has realistic shadows, but that's that. Okay. So these are, I should probably work a bit more on this one. These are the 5 illustrations for the 7-headed dragon story. And I still need to do the covers and see how that goes. And then, if everything goes to plan, I'll be doing live streams of the other 2 books as well. Because I want to do each book in a different style, since the goal of this is to have fun and explore different techniques. I might still do the 2-color thing, or the 3-color thing I'm doing, but definitely with different colors. Because I have one of the stories which I think would work really well with a vintage game design aesthetic. And of course, my first thought was I should make it pixel art, and then I remembered pixel art is a lot of work. So we'll see where that goes. So this was it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And for the next live stream, I'll post about it on Instagram and on Facebook. And I think I'm also going to schedule it on Twitch so that subscribers get an email, I suppose. Don't really remember how this works, but I'll check it out. And I'll look into adding music to the streams as well. So, see you next time. Bye!